Yeah, you tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queuing. H2.0. Yeah. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear. Welcome to the Queendom, it's 2.0 on your screen, where the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. If you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must. This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up a better scene. Spreading radical love, that's the message in the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load. From social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought. Ooh, so come with your respect and see the real effect. Cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me envy. Unleash the dragon. Subscribe, ring that notification bell. Yeah, you don't wanna miss a thing. Welcome to the family. Yeah.
The air is thick with whispers, digital ghosts in the machine. They feed us fiction till our vision's blurred, you know the scene. Static on the screen, a 24-hour scream, selling us a fractured dream, tearing at the seams. They got us locked in little boxes, picking sides, while the real tide rises, and nobody hides. Yo, podiums are burning, bridges turn to ash and dust. They trading rhetoric like bullets, banking on our lack of trust. Got us debating pronouns while the planet starts to rust. Got us obsessed with power, drowning in our own disgust. Politicians playing chess with pawns that look like you and me, selling off the future for a bump in their damn GDP. And what we talking about, the foolishness, the vanity, fighting over AI songs, the height of our insanity. A fake voice on a fake beat gets more rage and more ink than a real bomb dropping on a city while we blink. They engineered the outrage, designed it to divide, so we never look up from our phones to see the coming tide.
before we run out of safe places.
I see the babies born into this atmospheric hate. Taught to fear they neighbor before they learn to conjugate. Lines drawn in the sand by hands that never touch the soil, while the working class backbone is bent in endless toil. From Ferguson to Palestine, from Kiev to the Sudan. Listen, it's the same damn story, part of the same damn plan. Keep the people fighting over scraps upon the floor, so they never band together and demand a slice of more. They call it patriotism, tradition, call it pride. I call it ancient venom with a modern place to hide. Skin tone is the uniform they gave us for they wore, but the soul inside the flesh is what we should be fighting for. And I'm tired, so tired of singing this eulogy.
Oh, can you hear the war drums pounding out a rhythm low? They're marching us to battle for a God we do not know. They want us choosing colors, but our blood all runs the same. Just strangers in a mirror whispering a different name. I'm praying for the day the sun won't care what shade we are. That we can see the human heart behind the battle scar. Tear down the flags and see the faces before we run out of safe places.
What if we looked each other in the eye, past the melanin, past the zip codes and the bank accounts they fence us in? What if our only currency was empathy and grace? What if we found our real reflection in a stranger's face? This ain't a lyric, it's a lifeline that I'm throwing out. This ain't a song, it's the beginning of a different route. I'm a daughter of the struggle, a mother of a dream, to wash away the blood and poison from this bitter stream. So turn the volume down on all the noise they try to sell, and listen to that quiet voice inside you know so well. World War III is knocking, they're at the door, but it's not nation against nation anymore. It's ignorance against wisdom, it's love against the fear. The real war is right here.
Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Golden. I'm back again for another live, y'all. We have a few more things to get into this evening, of course, with politics and the government. These topics that we're going to be talking about this evening are actually very heart-wrenching topics. And so for most of the video, I will go ahead and give you a disclaimer up front that it may be triggering, so trigger warning for some of these things that we have to discuss. You guys might have already seen it. Maybe you haven't. Maybe this will be your first time finding out what is going on, but there is more. Some of the topics I'll be talking about this evening are actually updates from a few of the ones that I talked about earlier this morning on the live. And then there's a few new ones that I came across as well that we're going to go ahead and get into, okay? So it is going to be kind of massive, all right? We'll be covering the rapid escalation of federal power across this country. This is what you need to know right now, okay? We're going to be talking about the impeachment ultimatum. First, the political earthquake in D.C. House Leader Hakeem Jeffries has officially issued a dramatic ultimatum to the White House. Fire the DHS Secretary Kristi Noem or face immediate impeachment. This comes after the fatal unaliving, as we know, of the 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis this month, who was Renee and a ICU nurse, Alex Pretti. Jeffries is calling these unlawful and savage unalivings and says the depraved indifference at DHS has to end. And we have to get into this as well. It is not just Democrats anymore. Republican senators are now joining the call for Noem to step down. Also, we'll be getting into another heart-wrenching story that's at the heart of crisis. I have a son, he is 3. So it did shake me and take me, down a few emotional paths. But we'll be getting into a little bit more about Liam Ramos. It's a 5-year-old that is with his father, Adrian. ICE agents reportedly used this 5-year-old boy as bait, forcing him to knock on his own front door in Minnesota to lure people out before snatching him. I can tell you firsthand, Liam, right now, there's reports that he's not in the best of shape. He's not eating, he's lethargic, and he's depressed because he has been snatched and separated from his mother. He's a child who they are saying has entered the country legally via the CBP One app. There's no criminals in that wing, just families being held in what Representative Jasmine Crockett calls worse than a prison conditions. We'll also be talking about the FBI raids on election offices. While this is happening, we're seeing a terrifying move in Georgia. The FBI just raided the Fulton County election hub, seizing boxes of records and voter rolls. While the administration claims they're investigating 2020, senators are sounding the alarms that this is actually a dry run to intimidate election officials and rig the upcoming 2026 midterms. It is a federal power grab of our local election infrastructure, plain and simple. We'll also get into Homan's zero tolerance in Minnesota. Border Czar Tom Homan has officially taken command now. He just landed in the Twin Cities with a clear message. We are not leaving, he says. He's offering a lopsided deal. He says he'll pull back the 3,000 federal agents only if local leaders stop their hateful rhetoric and start cooperating with ICE. He's instituted a zero tolerance policy for protesters, vowing to stay until the problem is gone. And finally, we'll be getting into a major win within the courts. Chief Judge Patrick Schwartz just released a scathing report revealing that ICE has violated 96 court orders in just 29 days. We have to think about that. The judge says that ICE has violated more orders this month than most agencies do in their entire history. He warned the acting ICE director, "You are not a law unto yourself." He's even threatening to hold federal officials in contempt and haul them into court in handcuffs if this lawlessness does not stop. So we are going to dive deep into all of this tonight, y'all. And of course, I have some audios and some videos that I want to show you. The first one we're going to get into, like I said, extreme trigger warning. This is a video, partially a follow-up from one of the ones I showed earlier with Jasmine Crockett. She did visit, she did visit the detention center where little Liam was being held. And she had a few things to say about what she bear witness to, not just him and his father, but throughout the whole facility. And the saddest part about little Liam, it doesn't seem like he's doing okay. But I will let her tell it, and then we have a follow-up video after this as well that I'm going to show you guys. Let's go ahead and get into it. Give me just a second to get this up on the screen for y'all, and we will watch it together. Again, viewer discretion is advised, and trigger warning. Sorry, y'all. StreamYard is moving slow. Okay, here we go.
We all saw that photo of you meeting young Liam. Can you tell us about how he's doing and what that experience was like today?
It's almost indescribable, which I don't think that anyone ever imagines that I'm at a loss for words. Mm-hmm. He attempted to kind of interact with him. Like I was like trying to touch him, he was so lethargic. He was never alert the entire time that we were there. I was very, very concerned about his health. His father indicated that he was not eating, that they had determined that he was depressed, they being those that are there at the facility. They do have some psychiatrists on hand, and that he just kept asking about his mom and when they were going to see his mom and when he was going to go to school. But the entire time that we were there, and we visited specifically with Liam for probably about 30 minutes talking to his dad, and he never moved. He was motionless.
He was awake, but motionless?
I don't know that he was awake. Like if you look at those photos, like we could see just a slim portion of the white of his eyes. He never opened his eyes. Like that's exactly how he was the entire time. And he wasn't asleep. Like I don't think anyone could sleep through that. I mean, like his dad adjusted him a couple of times, but something was not right. That part I can tell you. And so one of my staffers that was with me is a fluent Spanish speaker. Yeah. And so I was like, you need to ask about like the doctor, like, has he seen them? Like, when's the last time? Because I was looking at that baby and I don't have kids, but like, I would have imagined that he needed to see, like have professional help. But his dad was like, he's just not been eating.
How is his father then reacting to that? Because that is unimaginable for a father to be watching that, feeling some sense of helplessness.
Yeah, he's been trying to do everything that he can to take care of Liam and not freak out about his wife, who was currently 4 months pregnant. She ended up being hospitalized soon after all of this took place due to the stress. Mm-hmm. But even the outfit that Liam is wearing, they only give them one outfit. So his dad washes his clothes every single night when he goes to sleep and then hangs them up near like a vent to dry.
I have heard people describe at one point that somehow this facility is the best you can do. It is not as bad as people are describing it. Can you describe? You've been a criminal defense attorney. You have obviously visited many a client and a defendant who is a criminal defendant inside of a detention facility. Can you describe what this was like, even compared to what you have seen in the past?
To me, this was worse. And I've been to state, federal, I've been on all levels. I will tell you that the only thing that is better here is that they can walk out of their living quarters and walk around. Obviously, inmates, they aren't allowed to do that part. I will say that this was worse because of the complaints that we got about the water. They consistently talked about the water and how awful it was. And they said that the water makes them sick. They told us before that, like, literally when people kept getting sick with certain water, they found that there was mold that had been like in this container. And then they basically just put like some Clorox or some bleach or something in it. And then we're like, okay, here you go. And so we actually we put some water in a water bottle. Yeah. You're the first person to learn this, so that we could actually test it ourselves, because we asked about testing of the water, all that kind of stuff. So we actually are going to test some water that came out of that facility. When we were meeting with another group of people, they brought bottles of water, and they were like, they only brought the bottles of water because y'all are here.
Well, Congresswoman, I mean, what you describe is certainly subpar for even the standard detention facility across this country for criminal inmates waiting trial. But you have Liam, who is symbolic of so many other children who are also there. But we know a judge just ruled on Monday that Liam and his father, they cannot be deported as they are fighting any removal effort by the government. So where does the effort stand to release young Liam even from federal custody in that detention facility?
Well, I've got to tell you that as soon as we walked in and sat down, Representative Castro immediately was like, I'm not going to BS you. Y'all need to let him go. And that was before we saw Liam in person. That was before we saw anyone else. And, they basically kind of were like their hands were tied. We did have an opportunity to speak with some of the attorneys that represent the government in these detention cases. And so I dug in and do what I do as an attorney to ask questions. I have some thoughts about things that we potentially can do right now as Senate Dems are going through their negotiations, because I think anything that has to do with, the DOJ is going to have the final say so, or ICE, or, this is about oversight. I think that that's all out of the window. We know that these people will ignore the law. I think that we need to empower those immigration attorneys and judges, because that's the only branch that's not completely broken at this point. Wow. So I'm hopeful that we can do, and Laura, you did this before, that we haven't enshrined about speedy trial. So I'm really trying to think through some fixes so that, like, you can't detain these people inevitably. I mean, they gave us these beautiful pamphlets, more beautiful than anything that we have in our office. And they gave us a layout, and they said the average person is there for 28 days. Wow. We did not meet anyone who had actually been detained for less than 2 months.
Now that is stunning. I'm waiting to see those water quality results as well. And of course, that picture of young Liam speaks volumes, and he is symbolic of so many other people who are there. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, thank you for going and bearing witness and informing the public of what you saw.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. So that was just part one. Now we're going to get into part two. And this one is even more pressing. So again, viewer discretion is advised and trigger warning. This is the video that I'm going to be showing you guys. This is from Joaquin Castro in Texas. And he also visited Liam in the detention facility. where they're staying in Dilley, or Dilley Detention Center. It's not pretty there. These people are not living under good conditions at all. They're not even really living. They're being held captive. And there's children there that are also undergoing these terrible circumstances. And it's not humane. Like, it's inhumane how they're treating these people. But let me go ahead and get this video up for y'all to listen to and see for yourselves. It is very triggering, so viewer discretion is advised.
Joaquin Castro, Congressman for San Antonio, and y'all know that I was going to Dilley today along with Jasmine Crockett, to visit with Liam Ramos and his dad, and also check on their welfare and demand their release, and also check on the 1,100 people who are at Dilley right now. I did have a chance to see Liam. We spent about 30 minutes with he and his dad. And Liam, he wasn't in any kind of emergency or anything physically, but you notice I posted a picture of us together because I know the whole country's been worried about him. His school and his classmates and his principal, his legal team, and his mom have been worried sick about him. I called his mom right away, right after I left Dilley, to let her know that we spoke with her husband, and of course had a chance to visit with her son. His dad said that he hasn't been himself, that he's been sleeping a lot because he's been depressed and sad. And so Liam actually was not awake during our visit. He was sleeping. But we did let his dad know that his classmates at Valley View Elementary in Minnesota, that that they miss him and that they've kept his space and his desk for him, and they're waiting for him to get back. And his dad said that he's asked about his classmates and wants to get back to his school and with his family and with his community. And so I am concerned about his mental state. And we spoke to many parents throughout our visit. We were there from 11 to 2:30, so a very long inspection of the facility. We met during that time with over 100 people, and probably hundreds of people. There were a lot of parents there who talked about their kids experiencing deep depression, anxiety, people losing weight, both because of the bad food, but also because of their mental state. And with Liam, I very bluntly told the ICE officials there, the CoreCivic is the private prison and detention company that runs Dilley. I told everybody very clearly that the country is against what's going on, that Liam needs to be released, that the country demands his release, and that no child that's 5 years old should be in detention like that. And I want you to remember two things as you think about this. With Liam and his family specifically, they were legally allowed to come into the United States because they had applied for asylum. And people always talk about doing it the right way. This family used that CBP-1 app. That was supposed to be the orderly and efficient way. Instead of rushing the border, they said, okay, do it in an orderly and efficient way. That's what they did. And so they got an appointment that they were supposed to have in February for asylum. And instead, they get picked up, and he gets picked up in his cap and his backpack. His dad said that he's been asking about where his cap and his backpack are. So they were legally in the United States, and Donald Trump and his administration and Stephen Miller pulled the rug out from under them. And then secondly, with respect to Dilley, with all of the people in that facility, there are no criminals in Dilley. Donald Trump said this was about arresting illegal criminal aliens. That's his language. There isn't a single criminal over there. Because if you've committed a crime and they detain you with your son or your daughter, you're an adult and you have a family member or a child, they separate you from your child and send the child to what's known as an ORR facility, which is run by Health and Human Services, a totally different facility. So all those people, those 1,100 people over there, they are people who are hardworking people. They're mothers and fathers. They're laborers. They're, people working in grocery stores, just everywhere. There were a lot of people. We asked, hey, how many people came here on the CBP One app? And a lot of people raised their hands. They did it the right way. They're not criminals, and yet they're ending up there. There is a 2-month-old baby that's over there. 2-month-old baby that's in there right now. So there were many children just like Liam. And so we demand their release. They talked about all the mental health issues, medical issues, just all of these things, all of these issues. And again, remember, these are people, I think in some of the public's mind, especially people that are very anti-immigrant, they want to think of these people as prisoners, as though they've committed a murder or a robbery or something like that. Those are not criminals. And this immigration issue is not about, it's a civil issue. That's not a crime issue. And they're being treated like prisoners. They're literally being treated like prisoners. People had different problems that they were experiencing. For example, I'll just give you one example. One of the gentlemen said that whenever he has called relatives and talked about the conditions at Dilley, and it's run by Core Civic, that when he calls and talks to a sibling or something, that their number is then blocked by the company so that they can't call again. He can't call them back. So this is a monstrous machine that has been set up, and now it's being fed people who never committed a crime, people who are honest, hardworking people. I mean, you go in there and you see these kids that are, and the parents that are so broken, a lot of them, and I'm a parent. I have 3 kids, and my kids are 12, and my son's turning 10 on February 2nd, and then my daughter's 3.5. And you see these parents trying to be strong for their kids, but the hurt and the pain, and as a parent, those of you that are parents know, you're supposed to be a strong person for your kids, and this system, it's just really just broken a lot of folks. And I was thinking about this, if all politicians who support this system would walk through these facilities and not as Republicans or as Democrats, but really as just as a human being, and see what this system we have set up does, and specifically to President Trump. The president is somebody that has grandkids himself. And I think some young grandkids, they're kids that are the age of his grandkids that are over there basically in this private prison, who can't figure out why they're there, who are depressed, who are crying. A little girl that came up to me, who was hugging my leg because she was so short, kept coming up to me and asking us to help them, to help get them out. So I hope that y'all will continue to speak up, that you'll continue to use your voice. This system has to change. And, you know, by all accounts, it's being directed by Stephen Miller. And Stephen Miller has young kids too. And I'm sure he loves his kids. Well, there's kids that are his kids' age over there. And they didn't do anything wrong. And that kind of that malevolence or hatred on the issue of immigration, you're hurting human beings, you're hurting people. And for Stephen Miller, if you're going to be the architect of this inhumane policy, why don't you have the guts to go walk through these places and talk to these people and see what you're doing to human beings that are the age of your kids? You should have the guts to do that. If you're going to take responsibility in the White House for this policy, you ought to go walk over there and meet with them, and then come out of there. If you come out of it the same way, we got a lot of information. We're following up on a lot of people's cases. There were people that are married to American citizens who were there with kids in Dilley. There's people with medical issues. There's people that had asylum appointments. People picked up in court, like we've seen. You know, I told the ICE folks, I said, you know, it's no wonder that you got a big percentage of the country now that just wants to do away with ICE because of what's going on in the streets and because of what's going on over here. And, you know, and I was very direct with folks, you know, because I don't want to be cordial in person to people and nice and then, you know, get in front of the press or something and then, you know, say something different. So I try to be very straight with people. And I think
okay, so that video did cut off right there. That's where it ends. I believe his phone or something like that died because he was recording from his car on his cell phone. And so that's just the way the video goes. It cuts off there. But as from what y'all can hear, not just from him, but also Jasmine Crockett, the conditions are terrible. These people are suffering. And this is inhumane. It's inhumane. No one deserves to be treated like that. And one of the biggest things about it is, like he said, these are asylum seekers. It was part of what they were told to do the right way. And they did it the right way. And now, you know, before they can even get up to the date where they're supposed to, you know, I guess apply for the citizenship and finalize everything, prior to that, which is supposed to be coming up in February, they're being hemmed up and dragged off of the streets like animals and being locked in these detention centers with these terrible, terrible conditions. And it's not just affecting them and their physical health, it's also affecting the mental health as well. And we know how important mental health is. And so all of this is just, it's really devastating, and it has to come to an end. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick song break. And then after that, we're going to get into our next video that I'm going to show you guys. And this one is the Minnesota judge says ICE violated nearly 100 court dates. They're going to break down exactly what that means, what should happen, and how serious that is. We're talking about criminals and people breaking the law. When we sit here and we watch ICE and DHS literally breaking laws. So who really is the criminal here? Anyway, y'all, we're going to get into that video in just a moment. Let's just take this quick song break and I'll be right back.
Righteous wage to earn. These are the needs, the bedrock and the base, the sacred ground of the whole human race. But the screaming and selling something cheap, while the real world babies cry themselves to sleep. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with a right to be loved, a right to be made whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator is where we all belong. We are human, with more beyond the paper and the loaded dice. We're human, worth more than they can prize. Beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. They're painting pictures twisted and real, teaching our children how they ought to feel. Their values in the label on your shoes, or the filtered life you desperately choose. They magnify the hate, they celebrate the greed and plant a poison, a suffocating weed. We gotta reach our children, pull them from the glow, and show them a beauty that the media don't know. Yo, check the vision, the mission of the television, spitting division, a mental prison. Got the youth chasing likes, addicted to the feed, ignoring the hunger, the fundamental need. They building paper idols on a digital stage, putting our future daughters in a virtual cage. Now we gotta break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mightier than the sword. So we teach them about their history, teach them about their grace, teach them about the power in every single face. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with a right to be loved, a right to be made whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator, it's where we all belong. We are human, worth more than they can prize. Beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. Human, worth more than they can prize. Beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. We will build a world where every voice is heard and valued. Yeah. And truth is not a whisper, but a mighty, thundering word. A word of justice, a word of peace, a promise that the fight will never cease. This ain't just a track, this a call to action. For every mother, father, every single fraction of the community holding it down on the ground. Time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, tell them that they matter. Tell them their spirit's something that no lie can shatter. Tell them knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest we gonna grow in this field. Yeah! We are human! Yes, we are! Teach the children! Near and far! Let them know their sacred work. Fight for every single soul on this earth.
All right, y'all. So yeah, we just took that little quick song break and we're going to get into our next topic for the evening. But I just have some final words. When it comes to bearing witness and seeing that little boy, 5 years old, Liam, in that state, it really does change you. It changes your energy, your emotions, your feelings. And so, I probably do sound a little bit drained out. And I am a little bit. Bearing witness to a lot of these things, even just watching videos of them and reporting on it, which is necessary for us to do because we need to know what's going on and we need to have conversations around these situations because none of this should ever happen. But this is not about border security, okay? This is a 5-year-old child who was literally stopped eating because he was used as a pawn in a federal power play. And I think Representative Jasmine Crockett said it best. Like, we're supposed to be better than this. If we allow children to be used as bait, we're losing the right to call ourselves a nation of laws. I'm not letting this story go. I'm going to keep talking about this until little Liam is back in his classroom where he belongs, because this isn't right. And the rest of the children and the people that are being held against their will for no lawful reason whatsoever, they deserve to be free, back living their lives. And so, y'all, we cannot give up on this. We have to keep talking about it, keep bringing it to awareness, and keep these people in our hearts and in our prayers, because it's not right. And we never know when we may just be in that same predicament. But anyway, let's move on now to our next topic here. So like I said, this one that we're going to be listening to is Minnesota judge says ICE violated nearly 100 court orders. This means breaking the law. So let's go ahead and get into it, y'all. Let me put this video up on the screen and we will watch and listen to this together.
MS Now reporter David Noriega from Minneapolis, MS Now senior White House reporter Vaughn Hilliard, and MS Now senior legal reporter Lisa Rubin. So I'm going to start with you, David. The administration's talking about lowering tensions, talking about a drawdown. Are you seeing that drawdown in the city?
It's too early to tell, Katie, essentially. I'm in touch with a number of people who participate in rapid response ICE Watch type activities, and they've told me that they have seen a little bit of a lull in ICE and Border Patrol activity in certain parts of the city, but that has happened before for 3 or 4 days at a time, and then activity picks right back up. And that doesn't mean that activity has gone away. There have been multiple reports of both ICE and Border Patrol, picking people up around the Twin Cities area. You were right to point out at the top of the show, Katie, that we've heard from Kristi Noem, Tom Homan, others in the administration from the beginning that they are supposed to be targeting violent criminals and taking the worst of the worst, in their words, off of American streets. But of course, what we've been reporting from the beginning is that since these mass immigration arrests started last year in LA and then moved on to other American cities, it's been very much the opposite of that. They've been going after people that they can find in public places based on what they look like, what they sound like, the work that they do. That's what's been happening in this city. That's what's been happening in other cities. I spoke last night to a young woman whose father was one of those people. He was picked up in a gas station after he works in construction. He went to pick up some materials. He'd actually limited going out of his house as much as possible. He was no longer going out to restaurants or doing anything else that was sort of, for fun. He was only going out when he needed to for work, and that's what he was doing in this instance. But he was picked up when he stopped at a gas station. And crucially, Katie, his family hasn't been able to find him since then. He's not in the ICE detainee locator system. He was able to call them once from Texas, but he wasn't able to tell them where exactly he was. He's essentially gone missing. As we've talked about before, this is something that happens, that has started happening pretty frequently in this new immigration enforcement regime. I want to play you a little bit of what that young woman told me about how this incident is affecting her and her family. Take a listen.
You look him up, all that you find is the same answer, 0 results. So he's nowhere to be found in the system. So our family's been devastated. it feels like that heart that you once were as a family is shattered into little pieces. And I don't say one piece is missing, I say all of it. It feels like it shatters and breaks, because when your family is united and when the love between the family members is strong, it really does feel like your family can't be what it once was.
It's so easy to become a podcaster with Riverside. First, go to Riverside and open an account.
Katie, last April, early in the Trump administration, Todd Lyons, the director of ICE, said that he wanted his agency to operate like Amazon in terms of the scale and speed with which they move human beings from one place to another. And that is what the agency has been trying to do since these mass arrests started last year. The detention system is completely overwhelmed. There are record numbers of people in detention. It is increasingly difficult for people to track down their loved ones. What this means, according to immigrant families and lawyers that I speak to frequently, is that there are very regular due process violations. When people get detained for deportation, they have due process rights. They can contest their deportation. Being unable to reach lawyers and family members makes that increasingly difficult, Katie.
All right. Vaughn, let's talk about the White House here, because there are some competing threads. One of them is the White House clearly is trying to turn the page on what has been happening in Minneapolis. Whether that's going to be effective is not yet clear. But sending Tom Homan out, and I know this is relative, but sending Tom Homan out to try to make it look like there's some heart there, there's some humanity there. He gets emotional in front of reporters. Instead of having Greg Bovino there, who we also showed at the top of the show, who's talking about turning and burning and cheering on law enforcement operations even still. What are they trying to do here? And if the public is upset about it, which they are, is Donald Trump facing a different sort of pressure from maybe MAGA world and his base that could change the administration's next step?
I think the difficult part, if you want to give anybody in this administration any slack, is that they work for a president who does not express regret or apology. And what you have is a deputy chief of staff and a secretary of the Department of Homeland Security who both went to call Alex Pretti effectively a domestic terrorist, and members of the administration have effectively tried to sidestep that question altogether on whether they would walk that back. And what you saw was, over the course of now the last month in Minneapolis, was a consistent doubling down of the tactics and the operations that were used on the ground. It was 2 weeks ago, after the killing of Renee Good, that I asked Secretary Noem whether she was comfortable with having Fourth Amendment rights of individuals living in Minneapolis violated for violations of asking them for their papers without reasonable suspicion. And her response to me at the time was, every single action that our ICE officers take is according to the law and following protocols that we have used for years. They are doing everything correctly. Fast forward, the fact that Tom Homan here today acknowledged that there were actions that did not amount to being perfect steps being taken by federal agents on the ground, I think is notable, because we don't often hear that from the Trump administration. Very specifically, Tom Homan said, I'm not here because the federal government has carried its mission out perfectly. I do not want to hear that everything that has been done here has been perfect. And I think that that is really, as you look forward to, as you and David were talking about, what steps are being taken moving forward, I think it's going to take a lot of reflecting, especially when the face of the President of the United States, just in the last 2 hours, posting new video of Alex Pretti 11 days before he was shot and killed, having a scuffle with apparent federal agents. I want to let you take a listen or a look at this video here, and we can talk about it on the other side. Again, this is video, Katie, of Alex Pretti 11 days before an interaction with federal agents. An attorney for the Pretti family said that a week before Alex was gunned down in the street, despite posing no threat to anyone, he was violently assaulted by a group of ICE agents. Nothing that happened a full week before could possibly have justified Alex's killing at the hands of ICE on January 24th. But you're looking at a president of the United States that over the course of the last 12 hours has repeatedly posted that very video here at a time in which his administration has largely been defiant of its operations and its tactical procedures on the ground.
Really well put, Vaughn. Thank you. Okay, Lisa, let's talk about the courts. Striking to hear the chief federal judge in Minnesota say that ICE has been defying 100 different court orders and that ICE is behaving as if ICE itself is the law.
It's crazy to me to have that said by the chief judge of the District of Minnesota, particularly given his background. You know, we have said this many times, but when it comes to the lawlessness of this administration, the folks who are calling that out are not all appointees of Democratic presidents. Many of them have conservative legal movement bona fides. That is absolutely true of this particular judge, Patrick Schiltz. And the order in which he related that, Katie, is not one where he had to say any of that. The question was just, is Todd Lyons going to come to his courtroom on Friday and testify or not? And he said, it's no longer necessary. You have told me that you released the person in question. He was supposed to come and explain why the person hadn't been released. And they said, he's been released. We agree. The hearing is off. But then he took the opportunity to say, I have spoken with the other judges of my district. We have counted between us nearly 100 instances in which ICE has not followed our orders.
So what's the recourse and what's still open?
Well, I think a lot of the things that are still open are civil applications. So, for example, the state of Minnesota and the Twin Cities have a pending motion for a temporary restraining order against the continued operation of Metro Surge. They're also asking, if it continues, to have this judge, Kate Menendez, rein in some of the tactics that are being used on the ground against people who aren't subject to enforcement, immigration-related arrests. But some of the other things that are open go back to something that David was saying. When we're thinking about the immigrants who are being detained, who are the cause of the protests on the ground, many of them have brought cases recently saying, your right to detain me is in question. You didn't have a warrant, judicial or administrative, or I have status in this country. I never should have been picked up in the first place. And that's where our colleague Fallon Gallagher and I did a review of 61 cases that were decided between January 20th, January 27th, where immigrants were challenging their detention. We found that in all but one case, with judges appointed by both Democrats and Republicans, the immigrants won every single time but one. And in that one outstanding case, the person had a criminal history. But in all of the rest, not only did they have no criminal history, they were arrested in circumstances that turn your stomach. A Kenyan woman outside a CVS looking for her seizure medication, about to walk in and get it. Somebody who was a deferred action for childhood arrivals, a dreamer, who had lawful status to be here. Other people who entered as refugees or had pending claims for asylum, had never missed a court date, had filled out all their paperwork. Someone who had permission to be here as a victim of violence under the Violence Against Women Act. And it goes on and on and on. To a person, to almost a case, with one exception, every time the judges are saying, you have no right to detain these people. It sort of underscores what we're seeing on the streets.
All right, y'all. So as you can hear, over 100 is now. That's actually been the more recent report. Over 100 court orders that ICE is not following. And so, you know, you have to ask yourselves, if we're talking about following the law here, committing crimes, breaking the law, they're literally doing this themselves. Like, they're deciding that they're not going to listen, they're not going to follow the law, they're not going to follow the proper instructions on how to even go about detaining, if they have to detain illegal immigrants. They're pushing the narrative that these people are dangerous, they're criminals, they're hurting and harming people in our cities and our states, they're drug smugglers. All of these terrible things that they're painting these people out to be, but we're bearing witness with our own eyes and hearing with our own ears that is absolutely not that. These are people that are legal. They are allowed to be here. They have done nothing wrong. They haven't even had a parking ticket, most of them say. No issues, no crimes at all. But they're painting these people out to be terrible criminals and think that this is the way you treat people. And on top of that, even if someone is a legal immigrant or something, they don't have their paperwork in order, or they might have snuck in here. Even still, no human should ever be treated this way. Period. I don't care. That's my thoughts and my feelings, my opinion on it. You don't treat people this way. And so then, yes, now they have sent in Tom Homan. They've replaced Bovino with Tom Homan. But we have heard, or if you guys have not, I did play a video yesterday where it was a clip of Tom Homan when he first got into position. He has no intention on stopping any of this. He has no intention. He doesn't feel as though any of this is wrong. This is the right way to go about it. It has to get done. And then these false tears that we see coming, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And I know you guys don't buy it either, because we're not slow. We're not stupid. We know what's going on. These are games that's being played. These are performances that are being put on. And you don't have to take my word for it. Take these people's word for it. Because if you watch and you pay attention, these people tell you exactly how they feel and what they intend to do. And so now we have Tom Homan that is taking over the ICE command. That's what I'll call it, right? Now in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, right? And so listen to this. This is his own words here of what he's standing 10 toes down on doing. And it seems as if he wants to continue doing the same exact thing that has been done. So to move him in and say, okay, he's going to regulate things and get things in order and make sure this is not going to happen anymore, I don't really see that. I don't see that, and I don't believe that. And I'm listening to these people's own words, and that's where I derive my decision from. But let's get into it. Let's listen to it together. And y'all let me know what y'all think.
Look, I've been given talking points, and I don't like reading speeches, never have. But my chief of staff did put some stuff down here in writing just to make sure I don't miss anything. So I'm going to be reading a little bit, and then we're going to open up for questions. I've been on the ground less than 3 full days. I got in here Monday. President of the United States called me Monday morning and asked me to deploy here. Got here Monday evening, and I'm staying till the problem's gone. But we've made a lot of progress in the last 3 days. Marcos Charles, he's running ICE operations here. Rodney Scott, Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, standing here beside me. Good morning, I'm Tom Homan, I'm the Border Czar for President Trump. I'm here on behalf of the President, along with U.S. Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Rodney Scott, and Marcos Charles, who's leading the enforcement effort here right now. I've been on the ground since Monday.
It's really good to see you back where you belong.
Law and order in the city beloved by many, and work together to remove threats from the community. During the past administration, we'll all remember, more than 10 million illegal aliens entered this nation. Many were national security threats, public safety threats. We can't remember were 2 million known gotaways. 2 million people who paid more to get away. Why? That should scare the hell out of everybody. President Trump promised American people, including the residents of Minnesota, that he would work to ensure our communities are safe. And with that, this administration is absolutely focused on identifying removal aliens that pose a public safety threat and national security threats. And the numbers prove it. The data proves it. In the past few days, I've met with Governor Walz, Attorney General Ellison, Mayor Fry, numerous police chiefs and sheriffs, and I have more to meet. I'll also be continuing the dialogue with business and religious leaders in partnership in Minnesota, your community leaders. I'll be meeting with them too, because I want to hear what they have to say. In my meetings with folks so far, and most importantly, the governor and the AG, the Mayor Fry, we didn't agree on everything. I didn't expect to agree on anything. I've heard many people want to know why we're talking to people who they don't consider friends in administration. Bottom line is you can't fix problems if you don't have discussions. I didn't come to Minnesota for photo ops or headlines. You haven't seen me. I came here to seek solutions, and that's what we're going to do. And we come a long way, and we got some good wins for the people of Minnesota, I think, and for the administration and for the safety security of this city. One thing we did agree on, though, everybody I talked to agreed on, was that community safety is paramount. One thing we all agreed on was U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement is a legitimate law enforcement agency that has a duty to enforce the laws enacted by Congress and keep this community safe. Like I've said many times for the last several years, even before this administration, jurisdictions that refuse to cooperate with federal immigration authorities are sanctuaries for criminals. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals and endangers the residents of the community. To be clear, we did not agree with Minnesota state and local officials that they would be involved in immigration enforcement. I didn't ask them to be immigration officers. I'm asking them to be cops working with the cops to help us take criminal aliens off the street. What we did agree upon is not to release public safety arrests back in the community, and they could be lawfully transferred to ICE. I'll speak more about that. I will highlight that the Minnesota State Prison System under the Department of Corrections have been honoring ICE detainers. And we appreciate that important collaboration, and we're going to expand upon that. That decision has made Minnesota safer, not only for residents of Minnesota, but the men and women in law enforcement. Not just ICE, all law enforcement. Rather than arresting the same public safety threat, significant public safety threat over and over again, they agree to work with us to identify those people and remove them. I'm also pleased to announce I had a very good meeting with Attorney General Ellison, and he has clarified for me that county jails may notify ICE of the release dates of criminal public safety risks so ICE can take custody of them upon the release from the jail. And let me tell you why that's important. I know people are a lot concerned about the manpower has been sent in law enforcement manpower. Look, I've said this many times before. I've said it for the last several years. Give us access to the illegal alien public safety threat and the safety and security of a jail. It's common sense. It's safer for the community. It's safer for the agent, and it's safer for the alien. Because anything can happen on a street arrest. It just makes common sense. And for the people that argue, well, we're a welcoming community because we want victims and witnesses of crime that are here illegally to feel safe to come to police without fear they're working with ICE.
Texas was feeling unwelcome.
We're not going to talk to the victim and witness of crime. There's no problem there. They should feel safe to come to police and ask for help. All we want is to talk to the person that local and state law enforcement authorities locked in a jail cell. They chose to lock this person up. That's who we want to talk to, the public safety threat. So that argument is that protects victim witnesses of crime. It's a bunch of crap. Victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy back in their neighborhood either. So great progress with the Attorney General and local sheriffs. And one thing, when we have these agreements, it takes less law enforcement agents to do the job. One agent can arrest one bad guy in the safety and security of a jail where he's behind the wire. We know we don't have weapons. But when you normally release that public safety threat, illegal alien back in the community, we have a job to do. We're going to arrest them. So we're going to find them. And what happens is now we got to arrest somebody on his turf. We have access to who knows what weapons. Now we got to send the whole team out. Cover the back door, cover the front door, officer safety reasons. Then because of the hateful rhetoric and the attacks on ICE officers, now we got to send a security team behind the arrest team. So what could have been done with one person in a safety and security jail, now we got 15, 16 people out there doing it. I know that causes stress in the community. So if we get these agreements in place, that means less agents on the street. More agents in the jail means less agents in the street. This is common sense cooperation that allows us to draw down on the number of people we have here. Yes, I said it. Draw down the number of people here. Because we have the efficiency and safety of the jails and the prison. Matter of fact, I have staff from CBP and from ICE working on a draw-down plan. What does that look like based on the cooperation? What does that look like based on how many targets we have left to find? In my meetings with Governor Walz, AG Ellison, and Mayor Fry, as well as state and local law enforcement, again, I appreciate they all acknowledge that we do have federal immigration laws in this country that have been passed by Congress, and that ICE is in fact a legitimate law enforcement agency charged with enforcing those laws. We're not making this up, folks. ICE is enforcing laws enacted by Congress. They're a federal statute. That said, I'm not here because the federal government has carried this mission out perfectly. First thing I said to senior staff when I walked in here is what I told you earlier. I didn't come here looking for photo ops or headlines. I come here looking for solutions. I do not want to hear that everything's been done here has been perfect. Nothing's ever perfect, and anything can be improved on. And what we've been working on is making this operation safer, more efficient, by the book. The mission is going to improve because of the changes we're making internally. No agency or organization is perfect. President Trump and I, along with others in the administration, have recognized that certain improvements could and should be made. That's exactly what I'm doing here. As such, in meetings I've had with federal law enforcement managers, including ICE and CBP and other federal partners, as well as state and local officials, I have conveyed the President's expectations with regard to federal immigration enforcement efforts. We will conduct targeted enforcement operations. Targeted. What we've done for decades. When we hit the streets, we know exactly who we're looking for. Good idea where we may find them. You'll have a criminal history. You'll have their immigration history. A lot of information about this person that we get from numerous databases out there. Targeted, strategic enforcement operations. That's traditionally been the case, and that's where we're going. That's what we're going to continue to do and improve upon that.
You're the person with the gun, the person who would do anything to protect the ones you love. But did you know that you could go to
with a prioritization on public safety threats? I want to be clear. I don't read a lot of social media. I don't read a lot of media. I don't believe half what I see. We are not surrendering the president's mission on immigration enforcement. Let's make that clear. Prioritization of criminal aliens doesn't mean that we forget about everybody else. That's just simply ridiculous. But when you have a criminal standing here and a non-criminal standing there, that criminal always should be targeted first because he's a significant concern to the safety and security of the community. By and large, for decades, ICE and CBP have carried out their duties with integrity, professionalism, and compassion. That remains the expectation under President Trump, and I will hold our agents and officers to that standard. I'm almost done, and Tom can be Tom. As far as the agitators, that said, I want to reiterate and make very clear. I want to make it clear, ICE and CBP officers are performing their duties in a challenging environment under tremendous circumstances, but they're trying to do it with professionalism. If they don't, they'll be dealt with. Like any other federal agency, we have standards of conduct. They are sworn law enforcement officers working tirelessly to enforce our country's border security and immigration laws, protecting the interests of our country and preventing dangerous people from walking the streets of this nation when they're not supposed to be here to begin with. Men and women of ICE, I was a Border Patrol agent. I was an ICE agent. I was the first ICE director that came up through the ranks. I spent over 40 years doing this. These men and women that carry that badge and gun are American patriots. They put themselves on the line for this nation every day. But I want you to remember, they don't hang their badge. They don't hang their heart on a hook every day they come to work. They're mothers and fathers too. They're sons and daughters too. And if they've seen a fraction of the tragedies I've seen in my career, they take a lot of damage home to every day. The things they've seen, especially on the border with border agents. People drowning in the river. Women being raped by criminal cartels. Giving CPR to a baby that was thrown in the river by the cartels because Border Patrol came too close. So let's throw the baby in the river. That way the Border Patrol was concentrating on that so I can get away. These men and women see some terrible things. But I want you to remember, they're mothers and fathers too. Many of them are members of this community. God bless every one of them. The hostile rhetoric and dangerous threats and hate must stop. And we all agreed to that. All everybody met here today, we got to stop the rhetoric, the hateful rhetoric that has caused an increase in assaults. That has caused, because of that, have to send security teams out with arrest teams, which surge the city with additional resources because of the rhetoric, because of the threats, because of the assaults. Again, with the agreements we've achieved and following through the agreements, with the rhetoric dropping down, that allows us to pull more agents out once we feel the environment safer. I begged for the last 2 months on TV for the rhetoric to stop. I said in March, if the rhetoric didn't stop, there's going to be bloodshed. And there has been. I wish I wasn't right. I don't want to see anybody die. Not officers, not members of the community, and not the targets of our operations. For the people out there who don't like what ICE is doing, if you want certain laws reformed, then take it up with Congress. Again, ICE is making this up. They're enforcing laws enacted by Congress and signed by the president. The same laws have been on the books for the last 6 presidents I worked for. I started with President Reagan and ending with President Trump. Every administration, we enforce the same laws. If you don't like what ICE is doing, instead of protesting this building, go protest Congress. Tell me you want changes. You have your First Amendment rights. I support that. You have the right to protest. I'm just asking you to keep it peaceful. But threatening law enforcement officers, engaging in impeding and obstruction and assault is never okay. And there will be zero tolerance. You interfere, impede, assault ICE officers, you will be arrested.
What if working from home didn't have to mean selling products or posting online?
Like I said a bit earlier in my meetings with Governor Walton Ellison and Frey, as well as state and local law enforcement, I appreciate they acknowledge this, that public safety should be paramount. The chiefs I've talked to committed to responding to 911 calls when protesters turn violent, agents are in a dangerous situation, and there's assaults. They have committed to upholding public safety and responding to the needs, not to enforce immigration law, but to keep the peace. With that, I call upon those officials to stand shoulder to shoulder with us to tone down the dangerous rhetoric and condemn all unlawful action against law enforcement in the community. There are many ways your voice can be heard, express your feelings, and affect change in the country without crossing that line. Political and other disagreements in this realm should not be at the expense of public safety or the safety of federal law enforcement officers. In closing, I want to thank the state and local officials here in Minnesota that I met with and the many I'm going to meet with. We've had meaningful dialogue. And look, again, we didn't agree on everything, but we agreed on the things I just talked about. There's much more we can do. And I'm going to continue those dialogues. I got many more community leaders to talk to. I got many more sheriffs to meet. President Trump.
All right, y'all. So as you can hear from what he's saying, basically nothing. That's how I feel. Like, what is the difference, or what are you talking about? You're saying that things are not perfect, organizations aren't perfect. We talking about some serious matters here that goes way beyond being imperfect. We're talking about inhumane. And it doesn't really seem to me, from what I heard him say so far, and y'all, that is a long speech that he has. There's like probably another half of that. And I'm not going to play all of that tonight because we got to move forward with some other videos that I want to show y'all. But it very much sounds like to me he is still on board. And it gives off a little smug energy, I don't know, that I'm picking up from his tone. And we've heard him say before exactly how he feels. Even the fact that he said targets of operations. Targets of operations. You mean people. Like, these are human beings and people. And it's basically sounding like to me, if they don't cooperate with you, then there's going to be a price to pay. I don't know if y'all are feeling that way or y'all getting that type of energy, but he's saying he's not leaving Minnesota until the problem is gone. I think it's just, we know what it is. I can't say too much on it, y'all. It seems as though they are now holding these twin cities hostage, in my personal opinion. And I think this is a big test to see how far they can go and how, these operations play out. And once they're done in Minnesota, Minneapolis, it'll be the next state and the next city and the next state and the next city. It seems to be a zero tolerance takeover to me. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Anyway, we're going to take another quick song break. And then after this, we're going to get into the next topic. We're going to hear from Hakeem Jeffries. He's putting his foot down, y'all. He's calling for the dramatic change ASAP at the DHS or threatening immediate impeachment. So we'll get into that in just a minute. Let's go ahead and listen to this song, and we'll be right back.
It's enough. Yeah. Check the pulse of the nation, feel a tremor in the ground. Another hollow promise, another hateful sound. The burner phones are buzzing, the leak DMs exposed. The country club whispers about the people in their robes. They smiling for the cameras, preaching unity and grace. We're drafting legislation to keep you in your place. The dog whistles the sirens, now the hoods are in the open. Igniting tiki torch shadows, leaving spirits broken. They wanna turn the clock back to a time of guilt and pain, where progress is a dirty word and fear is how they reign. But every soul they try to crush just learn to stand up straighter. This ain't a game of politics, this is gladiator. Enough is enough. The whispers turn into the heat. I feel so picture. Enough is enough. Where the people at the table filling up our cup. This ain't about a party, the lines are clearly drawn. It's the light against the darkness that's coming for the dawn. Holy versus evil is the truth against the lie. We ain't backing down with a fire in the sky. They coming for the libraries, wanna burn away the facts. Erase the bloody chapter so you can't see the tracks. They gerrymandering the district, drawing every map. Your vote is just an echo caught inside the power trap. They purging names from voter rolls and calling it secure, while scream about election fraud to keep their motives pure. They wanna legislate the scars upon a woman's soul, and own the very choices that were never theirs. Control from the classroom to the courthouse, a calculated scheme to suffocate the promise of the American dream. But they forgot the dream was dreamed by rebels and by slaves, and their spirit is the very ground that trembles in their graves. Enough is enough. Call it policy, they call it survival, we call it tyranny. They stand on podiums with a Bible in their hand, but don't know the first thing about the soul of this land. This is for the teacher hiding books up on the shelf, for the doctor taking notes to more than just himself. This is for the dreamer facing down an ice patrol, for every ancestor's prayer that paid a spirit's toll. Their power is an illusion, a fortress made of glass. Our strength is in the future, they are terrified to let pass this hurricane of justice, an earthquake of the soul. It's a holy fire raging, and it's out of their control. Enough is enough. No more. Standing too long now that you can't stand. Enough is enough. We're the people at the table filling up our cup. Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
One year into the Trump administration, the situation here in America is a complete and total disaster. Donald Trump and Republicans have failed the American people in every possible way. Cost of living is completely and totally out of control. Housing costs out of control. Grocery costs out of control. Electricity bills out of control. Healthcare costs out of control. Childcare costs out of control. America is way too expensive, and Donald Trump and the Republican Party has done nothing about it. Under Republican policies, costs haven't gone down in America, costs have gone up, including for reasons that relate directly to Trump's tariffs, which have increased costs by thousands of dollars per year on everyday Americans. We have a broken healthcare system and a Republican healthcare crisis. Republicans have enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health clinics have closed because of toxic Republican policies in the one big ugly bill. And Republicans in the Senate refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. which is going to skyrocket healthcare costs for tens of millions of Americans who will be unable to afford to go see a doctor when they need one. Donald Trump and Republicans promised to cut costs in America. Instead, the Republican Department of Homeland Security is cutting down American lives in cold blood. It's completely and totally unacceptable. Taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for the American people, not brutalize everyday Americans or kill American citizens. But that's exactly what's happening right now in the United States of America, which is why dramatic change is needed with the Department of Homeland Security before any appropriations bill related to ICE or CBP proceeds. That's the Democratic position, because that's the position of the American people. Questions?
Good morning, thank you. Last March, you and Leader Schumer didn't seem to be quite on the same page when there was a question of government funding here. So are you confident that what they're going to do next door is going to reflect what the position is on the House when it comes to this? Are you engaged in what he says, if they come up with an agreement with the White House to advance the spending bills, that's going to be in sync with what House Democrats will like?
First of all, that question is so March of 2025. Like all the things, hold on. You asked the question, I provide the answers. All of the things that have transpired since almost a year ago, including uniform Democratic opposition to the one big ugly bill, because we objected together, House and Senate Democrats, every single one of us, to the fact that Republicans cut more than $1 trillion from Medicaid. They enacted the largest cut to nutritional assistance in American history by ripping away food literally from the mouths of children, seniors, and hungry veterans. And they did all of that so they could enact massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors, and in the same ugly bill, add $191 billion to the Department of Homeland Security, including giving $75 billion to ICE. So this killing machine could be unleashed on the American people. And you're asking me about what happened in March of 2025, when every single House Democrat and every single Senate Democrat stood against that bill. And for 43 days in the fall, during the Trump Republican government shutdown, together, we raised the issue of saving the healthcare of the American people. And everybody knows who won the narrative in connection with the Trump Republican shutdown, because House and Senate Democrats, Leader Schumer, all of us in the House, overwhelming majority of Senate Democrats stood together. We're winning election after election after election. Republicans are being crushed. Donald Trump's approval rating is underwater, including as it relates to the economy, healthcare, and immigration. These extremists are completely and totally on the run. So yes, short answer, we are on the same page. Now, with respect to what emerges from the Senate, as is always the case, we will evaluate whatever bill comes over to us on its merits. Second row.
You've said that you are going to commence impeachment proceedings against Kristi Noem if she's not fired. At what point do you say, okay, she's not being fired, we're commencing these proceedings? And have you had any conversations with Republicans that you think will rally with that effort?
I have not specifically spoken to any Republican other than Speaker Mike Johnson as it relates to the appropriations bill. I did reiterate in my conversation with Speaker Johnson that we intend to proceed with impeachment proceedings if Kristi Noem is not fired. Kristi Noem is a complete and total embarrassment. She's a disgrace. And on top of all of that, she's presided over the cold-blooded killings of American citizens, like Renee Nicole Good and Alex Pretti. Unacceptable. She should have never been confirmed. Shame on every Republican in the Senate.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 40.
Who put this wildly unqualified person into a position of significance in the Department of Homeland Security so she could unleash brutalization on everyday Americans, American citizens, and law-abiding immigrant families. It's disgraceful. She's got to go. We are dead serious. She needs to be put on ice permanently. She's got to go. And by the way, she's not the only one. Stephen Miller is the architect of Donald Trump's toxic immigration policies. He's a stone cold liar. He's a bigot. He's a hateful individual. He's a malignant, unelected interloper. He needs to go as well. Why does Donald Trump, if he truly is trying to change direction, have these people around? So when we evaluate the administration's intentions, we're not interested in a change in tone. We're interested in a change in behavior on the ground in American communities across the country, and as it relates to the people who are around Donald Trump. Michael.
Thank you. How recent was your conversation with the speaker?
Yesterday.
Okay. This weekend there'll be a special election in Texas where Houston voters will seek to, replace, fill the seat that Sylvester Turner vacated when he passed away last week. It's going to tighten the margin in the House even more. Just want to get your thoughts on the election. Do you have any relationships with the two candidates? What are your thoughts about the House returning next week with one more Democrat that will, again, kind of tighten the margins even more, make it even harder for the speaker to, govern and enact his agenda?
Well, the people of the 18th Congressional District, it's the 18th, right?
Yeah.
People of the, just making sure you're paying attention. People of the 18th Congressional District will decide who represents them in Congress. It's a legendary district. I mean, one of the most legendary congressional districts in the history of this country. It sent to Congress Barbara Jordan, sent to Congress Mickey Leland, it sent to Congress Sheila Jackson Lee. It's a legendary congressional district. So we're excited to see what comes next. And of course, that person stands on the shoulders of all of those giants. And though he was only with us for a few months, the great Sylvester Turner.
What about the margins?
Okay. Well, with respect to the margins, this is another reason why, as we have continued to say, House Democrats, Senate Democrats, all of us, that when it comes to these appropriations bills or any legislative item before the American people, we're just not down with the my way or the highway approach. It's not going to lead anywhere other than crashing and burning legislation for the appropriations process. The extremists in the Republican Party spent the better part of last year trying to fool the American people as if there was some big, beautiful mandate. And because they apparently convinced themselves, though not the American people, they've engaged in things that have worsened their position, not made life better for the American people. And if they continue down that destructive path, only a few things are going to come out of it. One, Republicans may shut the government down again, at least in part. Two, they will continue to fail to deliver on their promise to lower the high cost of living. And three, which we know to be the case, they are heading toward defeat on November 3rd, when Democrats will take back control of the House of Representatives.
Thank you, Mr. Leader.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you about these negotiations that are ongoing in the Senate about potentially separating out a DHS CR. I was just wondering how you're feeling about those conversations, whether you think Democrats would vote for a DHS CR with changes, and also are you involved with these discussions at all?
I've had conversations with Leader Schumer and Mike Johnson. I have had no conversation with the White House. But the White House understands that the only group of people that speak for House Democrats are House Democrats. So we'll evaluate whatever comes out of the Senate. We support the position that the 5 bipartisan bills that had strong bipartisan support in the House should be voted on, sent to the president, and signed into law promptly. The failure to do so will simply be another indication that Republicans, once again, want to shut the government down in order to try to jam their extreme right-wing policies down the throats of the American people. We know where that winds up, nowhere.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result Hunter, the search engine for conservatives. Let me just tell you what it does. First of all,
And at the end of the day, many Republicans, just like it was the case related to extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which happened in the House of Representatives, despite months of them saying, my way or the highway, the same outcome is going to result this time around, because the American people know that dramatic, bold, transformative changes to the way in which the Department of Homeland Security conducts itself need to happen, and it needs to happen now. Not weeks from now, not months, not next year, not when Donald Trump finally leaves the Oval Office. It needs to happen now. So we'll evaluate.
All right, y'all. So I just wanted you to hear a little bit of that speech, and basically what Hakeem Jeffries was saying. They are standing on business. They're demanding, when it comes to ICE, that they get out, that they go. These people that are in these positions, they need to go. They don't deserve the position. They don't know what they're doing. They're messing everything up. They're demanding that they go. And so you can see on the Democratic side, they are fighting, but we also have Republicans now that are noticing the same thing as well. And they're on the team working together. And that's what it's going to have to be, I think, for us to see any change. There has to be unity. There has to be teamwork. Both sides working together for what is right for the people. But anyway, we're going to cut that one short. Again, that's also a long speech. If you guys want to check it out, I'll put the link in my description box so you can watch the whole thing yourselves. But we do have to move along because I have one final video I'm going to show y'all. And it does tie into one of his last final statements about Donald Trump in these elections. And we know that the midterms is coming up. And so we have reports here, y'all, that some tampering is already at play. Some foul play is already going down. And so let me go ahead and get this final video up for y'all so you can get a little bit of a more understanding as what's happening. But apparently Trump has raided some election offices to rig the upcoming elections, and senators are speaking out about it. So let's go ahead and get into this video, y'all. Give me just a second. I'm gonna get it up on the screen here. And this is from reports from the I've Had It podcast. You know I love them girls over there. Ladies. They keep it real and they tell it just like it needs to be told. But yes, they'll be reporting on this. We're gonna finish out this live listening to them. It's only about 20 minutes, and then I will let y'all get up out of here, I promise. But thank you so much for rocking with me. And yeah, these are a few of the updates of what's going on, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into this commentary right here, and we will be right back.
They're going to try everything in their power to rig the midterms. They're already starting. And I've had a theory for quite some time that one thing that Trump plans to do to cling onto power, to reach around the Constitution, is to cook the books and say that the 2020 election was stolen from him. And then he and his buddies, the fascists in the Supreme Court, will say, oh, oopsie, he already is serving a third term, so we have to void, the amendment. And I don't know anything about how that would work, but I know that these people are diabolical. I know that they will stop at nothing. I know that Mitch McConnell stole a Supreme Court seat from the Democrats from a majority landslide victory of Obama's. And I know that they'll do whatever. I have no expectation whatsoever for them not to try to get around this. This guy is decorating the office, putting signs, White House, Oval Office, Rose Garden. He's, Liberace, the whole thing up to his liking. He has zero intentions of leaving. Zero. And the biggest narcissistic blow that he's had of late is the loss to Joe Biden of over 7 million votes. And y'all know he's been wound up like a cheap clock over this, since 2020. He will not shut up about it. So this is pretty alarming stuff. This happened last night. Pop this up. The FBI raids Fulton County, and Adam Cochran says taking the paper ballots is part of why we separate these records at the state level. Trump has taken the tabulations and the ballots. So if he makes a wild claim in court, what does it get compared against? These paper ballots, which his goons are now free to destroy. And get this, you guys, Tulsi Gabbard showed up with the FBI. So we should not be taking this lightly, because I floated this, I don't know, it was a couple months ago, right, Pumps, where I said, I think he is going to, part of his plans with Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller is to cook the books on 2020 and say, oh, oopsie, I'm already in my third term. So what do we do about that? And then he creates some sort of constitutional crisis, and all the fascists in the Supreme Court will immediately do whatever they need to do to pretzel themselves. The Democrats are not putting up the fight that we need to be putting up right now, and they haven't for the past year. And this is as serious as it gets, because they know they cannot win at the ballot box in 2026. They know they cannot win.
Well, the polls tell them they cannot win. And I look at this, and this was so alarming to me, because what that says is we're going to take this evidence and then we're going to say, oh, we don't know where it is, or they're going to send back doctored evidence, because if people do not believe this administration will doctor evidence, that's how corrupt they are. Look at the fucking Epstein files. Look what we're doing there. There is absolutely no conscience or ethics to say, I'm not going to doctor documents. This is terrifying. And my guess is he will find his 11,080 votes or whatever it was.
Oh, he'll find more. He won't be able to help himself. You know what I mean? He will not be able to help himself. Oh, I'm sure it'll be like 100,000. This guy cannot help himself. He's so unhinged. But what's most important about this administration is that they don't believe in the truth and the rule of law. That's the most important thing. I mean, I personally think they fabricated the text messages of the Charlie Kirk shooter. That's my personal opinion. I think all of that was made up. I think that these people will make the truth I put in quotations, listener, and I use that loosely, whatever fits their narrative. These people are psychopath, diabolical people who are incredibly submissive. Think about this. Think about all of these alpha males in the bro podcasting sphere, and all of these guys with their pickup trucks and the truck nuts, drink creatine, punch up on roids and go to their, man boot camps and all this crazy shit. They're so submissive to this guy. Like there's not a bigger pussy in the planet that can't say, I lost. Congratulations on your victory. You won fair and square, and pack up and move on down the road. Their version of masculinity, all of these broken MAGA men, is to submit. They submit to a mentally deranged man that wears a full face of makeup. That is their idealized version of masculinity. That's how sick and emotionally stunted these people are. But Senator Ossoff in Georgia is sounding the alarm as well. Please play the clip.
This is a seismic event. This should have people across the country absolutely shook. This is a huge deal. This is an FBI raid on the Fulton County Elections Office. His conspiracy theories about the 2020 election have been based in Georgia from the very start. Georgia is where he called the Secretary of State and said, find me the votes that he needed to win in a state he had lost. So much of the big lie that led to the January 6th sacking of the United States Capitol, that had a mob seeking the Speaker of the House and the Vice President to lynch them, originated in his lies about the state of Georgia. And here he has the FBI, which there are so many hardworking, diligent public servants in FBI field offices all across the country, but its headquarters now in the thrall of these political appointees, Kash Patel and Bongino and this guy from Missouri in the deputy role, who are partisan political actors, raiding this election office in Georgia, seizing all of this information, all of these records, taking it who knows where, chain of custody now broken. And here's the thing. This is a shot across the bow at the midterm elections. He tried to steal power when he lost it in 2020. We have to be prepared for all kinds of schemes and shenanigans. We have to be prepared for him to try to deprive people of their voting rights. In Georgia, where we have the most competitive United States Senate race in the country, and I'm asking people to help me defend this election and voting rights in Georgia, to log on to electjon.com, electjon.com, and contribute to help us fight the good fight and make sure that the people can speak.
This is just really stunning stuff. And when you think about what Steve Bannon said about flooding the zone, it's so disorienting waking up in America, this person shot, and the right-wing media is doing all this crazy shit. And then now he is doing what I predicted he would do several months ago. He is going to declare and cook the books that he won in 2020. And he is surrounded by lying, soulless, amoral, immoral sycophants that will happily cook the books for them, because at the core of this movement is a bunch of submissive men.
Local tax experts are here. Now you can meet with a TurboTax expert in your
and women.
When I look at this, obviously it's so alarming. But you look at all the things that this administration has done to stay in power. Obviously, January 6th was a coup that didn't go over. But you have gerrymandering. They're killing people at protests. So that has a chilling effect on going out to vote. Then you have the bunker. He's building a bunker that nobody can get him out of. So I look at all these things. He knows how unpopular he is. He sees the polls that he is tanking his base and everybody around him, farmers, soup to nuts, every single person he is hurting financially, insurance, income, all the things. And he's tried every way possible to cook this midterm election, because he, by his own words, I'm going to get impeached. I know that. Mike Johnson says it all the time. I'm going to get impeached. Well, yeah, because you're committing crimes every day, but that's not what we're talking about here. I think this is a last ditch effort to make sure we have all our bases covered. If they go to the polls, even though we have threatened violence and we've killed people, if they're still courageous enough to go to the polls, then we're going to gerrymander. And if the gerrymandering doesn't work, I just think it's a list of things, check mark, to keep him in power. And if all else fails, I'm going to lock myself in the bunker underneath the White House and wait till somebody comes to get me.
Oh my God, I'm afraid you're correct, Pumps. It is all hands on deck. All right. So, I think Melania Trump is a monster. I think she's an absolute monster. And a lot of people sometimes provide daylight, like Stephen Miller, I feel sorry for Katie Miller. Well, then Katie Miller gets out and she starts her podcast. And everybody's like, oh my God, she's a fucking monster too. And so Melania Trump's documentary is coming out and nobody wants to go. Nobody wants to go see the boring Melania Trump's documentary. Nobody wants to support Jeff Bezos. And I just want to note that the director of this documentary has multiple allegations of sex abuse against him, was shunned by Hollywood. And so, of course, within the pedophile protector MAGA Christian movement, they picked this person to tell Melania's unremarkable story of marrying a wealthy man to ascend to being a famous woman. Now, listen, I understand it's hard work, probably being married to him, and I don't want it to diminish all the work she's had to do on her back. But that doesn't mean that I don't think she is an absolute lying, fraud, piece of shit, gender washing, shallow, diabolical woman. And here she is on Fox talking about her husband is a unifier. He is an unifier. Play the clip.
It's great to have you. Something struck me in the trailer. So the president is standing there and gets asked, what will your legacy be? What's your focus for the second term? And he says, I want to be remembered as a peacemaker. And you added and unifier. And I'm curious as to what role you play in that, or what your designs are for how you can help facilitate that, because there's no question that the country needs a lot of unifying at this moment.
Yes, it does, but I think he's unifier. He's unifier not just here in the United States, but around the world. He stopped many wars, and as well here in the United States, it's a lot of opposition. And that's the problem, right? So the people
there we go.
Not agreeing with everything what he does, and they just need to come on the same page and see that he wants to make America only safer and better.
Hear that, Jessica?
Okay, so you hear in right-wing circles, Melania Trump is so smart and she speaks all these different languages. You hear in right-wing circles, Elon Musk is a genius. Right. These people are dipships of the highest order. As Melania was talking about her husband, he is unifier. He is a big unifier. He only wants safety in the United States. I mean, just elementary school sentence structure there. You understand, number one, why she plagiarized Harvard-educated Michelle Obama. Right. All right. But also in the what they were playing in the background, the sizzle or the what's it called? The trailer. The trailer of the documentary is like how she became First Lady of the United States. And here's the deal. People just want the truth right now. So listener, I'm going to tell you the truth, how she became First Lady of the United States on her fucking back. Okay. And I'm not knocking that. If that's your business strategy and that's your structure, I do what you want to do. It's a free country. I don't give a shit. But don't sit here and act like she's accomplished something. Don't sit here and act like she's smart and tell me she's this really smart, deep thinking first lady. She fucked Donald Trump. She cemented the marriage with Barron. She hates his fucking guts, but wanted to be first lady and just made this deal with herself. So let's just say what it is. And here's the deal. I'm not knocking it. If that's what you want to do, do it. Just don't lie to me about it. It's the fucking lying about it. The inauthenticity. Lying and telling me Elon Musk is so smart. And then I hear him speak 4 sentences on a stage somewhere. And I'm like, what? Lying and telling me Melania Trump is this masterful linguist and she's lived in this country for 30 years and that's still her sentence structure. He is unifier. He is big unifier. I mean, shut the fuck up. Seriously. All right, listener, I recently moved to New York and setting up your
I'm sitting here cracking up, y'all. I'm so weak. But yeah, I wanted to go ahead and show y'all that, child. This is what is going on. We got serious stuff going on clearly. But sometimes we have to laugh to keep from crying. You know what I mean? So every now and then, it's like I'm going to try to insert some things that are like a bit funny. But honestly, it's honest truth mixed with comedy. I mean, this is literally like what? There's been no tickets sold. I believe it's somewhere, child, that they are offering people money to go and see this movie or whatever she's coming out with, this documentary on Craigslist, by the way. They're offering people, they're gonna pay you if you go see it. That is how desperate. You cannot make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. But you know, with all the seriousness that is happening and going on, y'all, like, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this. It's nasty work. All of it is really nasty work, but we're gonna stick together, y'all. We're gonna unite. We're gonna do it ourselves because we can't depend on these people. This is the circus that come into town, and they need to pack up their tents and get on the road and head on somewhere else because we're sick of it. I don't even want them to land nowhere because I don't want nobody to have to go through this mess with this circus coming into town. But they need to go somewhere, child. We know where most of the stuff they do is probably somewhere that needs to be behind bars or in a straitjacket for most of them. But anyway, y'all, I don't want to say too much. So we have hit the 2-hour mark. Yeah, big unifier. Yeah, unifier. And the way she kept saying that, y'all, every week. He thought it a big unifier of a United States. Child, who is he unifying? He unified himself with a cheeseburger and some french fries. And he needs to learn how to unify that toupee on his head a little bit better. Because, child, when the wind blows, we see the truth. We know that ain't your hair, sir. But anyway, y'all, that is all I got on this one. I will be back tomorrow with another live. We're going to be doing some fun stuff soon. Y'all just stick with me. We're going to be doing some really interesting things. You'll see. But yeah, we got to stay on top of these people and their mess, y'all. And we laugh to keep from crying. But it's going to be all right. I know God has us. We stick together and we unify as a people. And we stick to our integrity. We're going to be all right. We're going to get through it all. Right now, it's just a little tough. It's hard. It's hard. I know it's hard for a lot of people to listen to watch, to bear witness to. And every now and then, yes, we have to take a break away from it. So that's why I said we have some really cool things coming up where it won't be all of this political talk all of the time. Because I know it can really take a toll. But y'all, thank you so much for rocking with me yet again on another live. I will talk to y'all tomorrow. I hope everybody has a good rest of the morning, the afternoon, the evening, or the night, whatever respectful time zone it is for you where you're at. I hope it is good for you. It's peaceful and you are safe and warm and sound and all of those things. And I'm praying for us all, y'all, but we're going to be okay. I know that. We're going to keep hope alive. And we're going to keep our faith strong. And we're going to keep fighting a good fight. So let's go ahead and end it per usual with a little bop, y'all. And I will talk to y'all tomorrow. All right, y'all. Golden signing out. Bye.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let it ring out loud. Let our rejoicing sing rise, high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea, like the mighty waters. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. We remember it all. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Hope is alive, yeah. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on. Let's keep marching till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the casting ain't right, but we're still